it's big, it's bad, and it's from a Bentley. So let's open this up and have a look and see what's going on. So this is something I haven't seen before. It is a Bentley power seat module, and look at the size of that thing. And that reminds me of something you'd see on a physics lab running a microscope or something like that. It looks like some ancient technology or a big power supply. We've got a load of different connectors. That one mainly looks like power, just by a lot of red stuff. This few pins in there, don't know if that's going to be sensors. Very big one there. I don't know if maybe that could be heated seats. Smaller connectors there, maybe a switch block. Again, maybe something to do with switches or sensors. We do have some janky wiring in there. That is not going to last much longer, and it's only just been crimped into there. So there's some bits of wiring to look at. But let's open it up and have a look inside. So let's see if we can get the lid off this now and get our first look inside. Oh yes, we're going. There we go. Right, and what have we got? Well, we've got a fair bit of corrosion up there. That track might be gone. That's probably a factory bodge where they've got what looks like it might be a capacitor done across there. I see a little bit of soldering there. Another sort of bodge resistor on there. We're calling them bodges, but you know, if it works, it works. You know, sometimes people forget to put stuff in. But yeah, let's have a look now closer at this, because I think that might be our main issue. But obviously we've got another side on this, so let's see if we can dig it out a little bit further. And here we have the other side. So yeah, a huge number of relays built into there. So I guess it's going to be doing all of the motors. But that in the background there, that battery, that's most likely going to be our issue, as we can see a lot of corrosion around there. Now, I've seen these batteries before. I'm pretty sure I have had these in I think it was a Mercedes alarm siren. I think they had that same style of battery. I think there was two of them in that. If you've got a W211 and your alarm keeps going off just after you lock the car, it's possibly these batteries going bad, and they're not too hard to swap actually. I think there's two inside that one, but there I believe is going to be our issue. We're going to have a lot of corrosion and probably some damage traces underneath there. Here's a look now from the other side, and yeah, we can see quite a bit of corrosion around there. Let's have a look at this. Who knows if that's still going to be continuous. Stay in focus. We will need to get this off, start doing stuff, but I'm not sure if there's even going to be any copper left in that. There's another thin little trace there. He's pretty much gone. So there's going to be quite a few trace repairs. There's a chip there where the legs look pretty bad as well. Might have some bits over here on these capacitors, the old ceramic capacitors. Haven't seen them in a while. There's a big memory chip in there as well. It's a very unusual leg pattern, one in, one out. You don't see that very often. But yeah, we'll have to get that battery off, have a look underneath, give it a clean up, and then start checking stuff with a multimeter and see how many traces are still working and how many we need to repair. We are prepped for the surgery, and as I can see around those connections, the ones there with little arrows, those bits of solder on there, they're more like a little ball. So I think somebody has already replaced that battery before. And there's also a 5-leg chip we can see with that sort of solder, not the solder, the flux around it. That's some SGS Thompson one I see on the other side. Don't know what it is just yet. But the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get that battery off, and we'll probably need to pull off another few bits and pieces as well, just so we can get underneath things and start checking traces. Once we're off, then we'll start cleaning things up and checking out and seeing what's continuous and what isn't. So there is our battery out, and you know what? This one hasn't leaked at all. So what I believe someone has done is the original battery did leak. They swapped this one in, but they didn't clean anything up, and the corrosion has spread, as he doesn't have any trace there. I was thinking it was looking a bit on the new side. It didn't certainly look like 80s technology, but that all looks to be okay. There is, I guess, 045B might be a date code on this. I don't know, maybe there might be some date codes hiding underneath there, but that seems to be fairly new. So I think someone has done a quick job and swapped the battery, and they didn't clean things up. Either that or they just missed all that corrosion, and that's going to be our bits and pieces now. So we're going to clean up the rest of the board, and we'll have a look and see if we need to take anything else off. And yes, underneath there it is a bit of a horror show, so that's going to need a fair bit of cleaning. I think this Toshiba chip, I'll say I'll want to get that one out. That one at the back, the other Toshiba one, I don't think is too bad. I see a trace that's going a little bit dodgy, but I think most of our legs are okay. But around the legs on that, they're not too good. And what have we got there? We'll have to have a look round those ceramic capacitors and the electrolytic one as well. So we'll clear up a bit more space, and then we will give it a bit of a clean, and we'll see what we've got left. Well, with a bit of wiggling, we got him up. It has taken at least one wire out of there, which we can just see stuck into this corrosion at the top. That one there might be gone as well, but anyway, we're expecting to be repairing a lot of traces here. So now let's get started with a cleanup. Slowly but surely we are getting there on this super fun cleanup. So we do have quite a bit of that copper. You can see there in the reflection. It is still there. We've got bits chewed out here and here. This line going into that pad, I thought these were all going to be continuous, but once I scraped off some of the corrosion, I see he goes through a pad onto the other side. There was a mysterious bit of copper there linking those two, but it turns out again that was more just corrosion, and he's lifted up. The one where the pad has gone actually goes to the other side, so there are no connections on there, so that isn't going to be too much of a problem. I do think though I am going to have to clean up. You can see the green around that resistor there. Clean up a little bit more and take some more stuff off over here, and maybe also this connector, and get in underneath there. But in fact it does look like a lot of the copper has survived on this side, and if we have a look on our other side is a fair bit better. So there wasn't really too much, and again a lot of that copper is still continuous. It was pretty grubby around some of these ones, but again it's starting to sort of clean up, and I'm fairly sure that's continuous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to remove a few more components over there in this side, mark them all up so I know where they're meant to go back, and we'll have a little bit of a better look into that corner. Plenty of working space now, as I have these bits and pieces off. So we've got 3 capacitors, that blue thing which looks like it's a MOV or some kind of surge protector, an electrolytic which looks a little bit grubby. We've got 3 resistors. This SGS Thompson gadget, I believe, is a voltage regulator, as it does say reg on the board. He unfortunately has lost a leg, and that pin connector is looking a bit like a church organ. But once we get over to here, we are nice and clean, and I can see exactly what's going on. So I scraped off a lot of solder resist on top of some of these traces, trying to see which has got copper on them and which hasn't. and we're looking pretty good. So there is 3 or 4 that we need to do on this side at least. On the other side, again, scraped off the solder resist to where I could see the copper, and what I've done is I put some solder on that as well just to protect it. That is something you might see on some older circuit boards, certainly like power stuff, maybe inside of TVs. They would sometimes leave the solder resist off, run it through the solder bath, and that would add extra solder on, kind of like to bolster up your traces. This little trace here, there's a little bit of fluff on the end of that. That bit of trace there, I think isn't continuous onto that one, but once we finish off cleaning them up, I will check and see what we're going. So now we have to figure out which traces we need to repair on the other side. So we have got quite a few to do. So let's have a look and see what we've got. So certainly we've got a break down there. That one, he runs all the way around up over here. We have a break in this far one, goes off to there. This one still is continuous, but there isn't really that much copper in there, so I'm going to redo him. I think that one there was gone. This one, certainly he's gone just there. So there is quite a few to do, and I'm going to have to sort out a bit of planning now onto where to route this stuff, so we're not getting sort of tripped up when we're putting everything back to where it should be. I have got some solder resist, so what I'm probably going to do is dab on a couple of bits and pieces first off, glue them with the solder resist, route them, solder them to where they're going to go, and then once I've got all the connections made, solder resist then over the top, and I've got a UV light to cure it all. So we've got our traces done. So I have tiny little copper wires jumping a section here to there. He's continuous off to that little point. What do we have next? This one I have in from here all the way across to there. Our break was just about there anyway. This one, he goes through a wire onto the other side. He's soldered onto a trace. This large middle one here, again, I got him tracking down here, following the line back over to this trace, and he's done. These 2 bigger ones then, we have him going up, following up and hitting onto this trace. This one's a little bit more awkward, as these 2 holes there are for the negative terminals of the battery, and this one's here for a resistor. So I've got to get a resistor in there first before we put it all together. I have in fact had a look at the battery, and the battery is showing 3.8 volts, so plenty of power in that. That's got to be a new battery, so nothing wrong with the battery. So I'm going to start now putting the rest of the components back. Oh, and before I forget, got to do our colouring in. I'm getting stuff in now, got a couple of bits in already, but our regulator, unfortunately, he has lost another leg, so I'm going to have to make a prosthetic leg for him. You'd be amazed at what modern technology can do. So I'm going to get a couple of legs made up for that and connect it through. I have tested it out, and yeah, it all still seems to be working. So your front 3 big legs are power in, ground, and then voltage out, and then the 2 other ones is apparently a reset and some sort of capacitor delay. But I'm going to go and make a couple of legs up and get him soldered in now. And to think the doctor said he'd never walk again. And there we go, we are pretty much done. So I've got our other components in, I got our battery in. As I said, that is showing 3.8 volts out of there, and it's 3.6 nominal, so he is certainly new and healthy. There is a little connection there that goes through underneath the battery into there. I had to get this wire into the hole the same as the resistor and same as that one on that connector. He's all done. Our other capacitors, we have our new prosthetic legs on our regulator. But the one thing I'm caught up now is that final little capacitor. So it's that little guy there. He is a 10 volt, 100 microfarad, and although he's fine on his farad scale, but on the ESR he's pretty much at the upper end of the limit. I do have this other 100 microfarad, I think that's what, 35 volt. He's doing pretty well, but unfortunately he's too big to get into that little hole and then get our pin connectors in. So I've got our pin connectors done. I have put some more solder onto those, like re-tinned them, get them nice and clean. But when he fits in there, which is pretty much about there, and I haven't got those holes fully cleared up yet, but unfortunately that doesn't give us enough room for this capacitor, who he's a little bit on the big side, and to be honest, his legs are a little bit too widely spaced as well. You can just about force him into there, but he ain't the right man for the job. So I'm gonna have to have a bit of a look now through parts bins and stuff like that. I've got a load of 10 microfarad ones of the same size, but trying to find a small little radial, I believe they're radial, yeah, that's a radial one. Yeah, because axial is leg on each side. I just need to find a small, what was that again? 10 volt, 100 microfarad capacitor, stick him in, and then we're done. Well, nothing found in the junk pile, but I've just had a delivery of some new Rubicon caps. So I'm going to get one of those stuck in, we'll get that pin header back on, and we'll do the wiring repair as well. And we are done. So I've had a quick look around on the other side as well, check all those relays, make sure there's no cracked solder joints on that. All of that stuff actually looks pretty good, nice and shiny. It's generally just the corrosion from the leaky battery that was causing problems. I'm going to throw a little bit more solder resist on, as it does look a bit shiny there and you can sort of see through it. In fact, it looks a lot worse on the camera, but I'm going to stick a little bit extra on because, you know, I've got plenty of it. It's not costing me much. So I'll stick a bit more of that on, build this back up, and then we're going to have a quick look at this loom and fix the loom up as well. Did you know that solder resist only cures with the kind of disco UV light? I didn't. I stuck this under an EEPROM UV eraser light. I had one of those out working on it earlier, and I thought, like, well, there we go, that's a stronger kind of UV light. Put it under that for a while, came back to it, only gave like a minute or two. Absolutely nothing had happened. I thought my solder resist had gone off. Turns out it has to be that kind of safe black light UV to cure the stuff. But it does the job, and that is it. So now all we're going to do, finish putting him back together and tidy up the rest of the bits. I've taken the tape off these bits, and luckily there's nothing else underneath there too unusual. All we have is this horrible sticky glue stuff that was under the old tape. But that is one of the bits that I'm not too keen about, as that goes down to just a very small bit of wire, and I already see one little strand of that coming loose, and with a lot of sort of mobility and flexing in that, I think that's going to break through. That does look like that is factory. That probably isn't. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the wire there, add a new section into here, and then going to wrap this up a hell of a lot to keep that pretty much immobile, stop any flexing in the future, and then tidy it up with a bit of cloth tape. And that's it, all ready to go. So I've got him all back together again. I've got our grommets all set up the way it should be. We've got our cable loom tidied up now. I have replaced that little section of wire and made that one a little bit more immobile now, so to stop it sort of moving around and flexing and breaking anything. Didn't have any black wire, so I used a bit of grey. Hopefully no one's going to notice it. If it's underneath the seat, it'll probably be pretty dark. But there we have it. So that is it now. with all our traces done, all cleaned up, solder resist on the battery. Well, the battery was already a new one from somewhere else, a new capacitor thrown into the mix as well, so that should be it all ready to go. So I've got to send this off to the customer, and that's it. Fingers crossed it'll work all as factory. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.